I want to urge you to stick around. We have joining us today, um, and will be part of the conversation a little later, Sage Penelope, who um, moved away, but I still consider her part of our community here. And I mean, she was one of our early donors and still is, and now lives in London. And so we're gonna let her catch us up. But
Can you invite more later?
um, folks, the world is on fire. Gaza isn't even the worst humanitarian crisis going on, but it's the one we are financing. We see the images, children with missing limbs, parents crying over infants that are skeletal. And our future, our strength, our survival is in each other's hands. Over the past few Sundays, I have mentioned that civil rights activists during the 1960s practiced self-purification that included prayer and fasting and training workshops. And then last Sunday, I quoted Jesus from Matthew's gospel, where he said, "Do not judge others, and you will not be judged, for you will be treated as you treat others. The standard you use in judging is the standard by which you will be judged. And why worry about the speck in your friend's eye when you have a log in your own? How can you think of saying to your friend, 'Let me help you get rid of that speck in your eye,' when you can't see past the log in your own eye? Hypocrite, first get rid of the log in your own eye, then you will see well enough to deal with the speck in your friend's eye." But face it, people are going to judge you no matter what. When Jesus says, "Don't judge others and you won't be judged," he's reminding us to free ourselves from cosmic judgment, that we don't have to be judged by the universe. In other words, God is truly on the side of non-judgmental people. On the other hand, humility and empathy put you in a position to judge rightly. You get rid of your own log so you can help remove your friend's speck. Kindness and understanding place you in a position to offer judgment in a way that brings us closer to each other. I think of the roles that I have played: husband, parent, pastor. And today I am slow to offer advice about those roles because of how I missed the mark and how I can't rewind to try again. But it is awareness of my mistakes that obligates me to not keep wisdom to myself. Another thing, I find healing by reminding myself that the log is not the log is not me, and the splinter is not you, not our identity. In other words, we have to earn the right to pass judgment, and it requires discipline to earn this right. For the sake of us all, we need you to earn the right to pass judgment, and there will be blowback. Look at these words from Matthew's gospel, where Jesus says to his friends, "Behold, I send you out as sheep in the midst of wolves. Therefore be wise as serpents and harmless as doves." And to be clear, the right to pass judgment is very real, but it does not include trolling. To make sure we're on the same page, I Googled the word troll. Trolling someone means deliberately posting inflammatory, offensive, or disruptive content with the intention of upsetting or provoking others. Trolls aim to create conflict and chaos within online communities. They might use fake names, make statements they don't believe, or encourage others to join in attacking a target. But when I say troll, I don't just mean people who comment on your social media. I mean the President of the United States. I mean people like Tulsi Gabbard, Stephen Miller, Pam Bondi, Marco Rubio, and so many more political office holders, including some of our local officials. I mean far-right YouTube commentators. But still, you can earn the right to pass judgment. Jesus says, do not judge others. Okay. So we can easily see how non-judgment fosters empathy, right? But so does righteous judgment. Righteous judgment will help to save us. For example, and this is significant, I still have friends who share the ideas of our past, and they still find security in the models and the language that I can no longer uphold. But one way that I know that I have earned the right to pass judgment is when I still love and respect their humanity. Then there are other people with whom I have never had much in common. They always pose a risk. I can never lower my guard with them. So as a sheep among wolves, I have to be as harmless as a dove and wise as a serpent. Right judgment equips us to build a safe, inclusive, transnational community, the community of the beloved. This includes all the wretched of the earth. So, please don't turn away from Gaza. But at the same time, I urge you to soak in the energy from the local protests you attend, where you stand in solidarity with people who care. And immerse yourself in energy from video and photos of thousands of our fellow humans protesting in Yemen, Tel Aviv, New York, New Delhi, Sao Paulo, Ankara, London, Athens, Seoul, Karachi, Amsterdam, Paris, Tokyo, Berlin, Cape Town, Abuja, Toronto, Mexico City, Kuala Lumpur, marching for humanitarian treatment of our fellow humans in Gaza. And sometimes they get arrested. So while trolls are grasping for attention, nothing gets my attention more than human souls. Human souls are interesting. I don't find trolls interesting. They're boorish and they're boring. Trolls try to dehumanize. My assignment is to humanize by judging rightly. When we judge rightly, it creates a safer environment where we all feel accepted. When Jesus talks about the log and the speck, he emphasizes self-reflection where we live in harmony because we all focus on our own flaws before criticizing others. Then we have less conflict and more humility. In every relationship that focuses on support rather than condemnation, that's a space for healing. But don't forget, we need more people who have earned the right to pass judgment. I mean, we try so hard to be nice. We try so hard to be polite, and we end up being silent when we should not be. Right this moment, we need power voices to pass judgment. Have you heard the saying, speak your mind even if your voice shakes? Because your voice of judgment protects somebody and assures somebody that they are not alone. Because none of us wants to feel like prisoners of aloneness. It's essential to develop our voices to speak up for one another, We have to pass judgment against inhumane treatment, against disrespectful treatment. The world is on fire, but together with humility and self-awareness, we can put the fire out. But we've got to be self-aware. Within our cultural constructs, some people face loneliness more than others. Folks with physical and developmental disabilities are horribly misunderstood. Our neighbors who are unhoused are judged. Our kin who struggle with mental illness are often judged. Labor Day comes up in less than a month. I hope we all make sure to call attention to the fact that capitalism destroys working families. We're all living in the midst of a nightmare for brown folks. This past Friday, I had coffee with a friend of mine of many years, whose husband, a U.S. citizen, is of Mexican descent. And she told me that every day she tracks his phone going and coming from work. And I'd be lying if I didn't admit that I think about my own family every day because we include Mexicans and Salvadorans. And the Western world has been hostile towards Muslims since before colonial times. Islamophobia today helps grow the profits for assault weapons manufacturers and the military-industrial complex, which accounts for why the empire is erasing Palestinians every day. People with disabilities, workers, Muslims, indigenous nations, immigrants, Pan-Africans, and anyone, especially females, who speaks up for others are all being subjected to silencing and erasure. Our beautiful planet is being silenced and erased. We are all witnesses. But understand, we are not alone, and we need to come together. In a different but very real way, our federal government has taken measures to erase our transgender siblings. What about those songs that we heard today? According to the National Center for Transgender Equality, I need to say this about the first artist, not Sade's child, but the first artist, Aya. She's Brazilian, and she's living in a culture where fundamentalist Christian nationalism has taken the country by storm. She's no longer welcome in the church there with all of her ability. According to the National Center for Transgender Equality, 57% of transgender people experience some level of rejection from their own families. 57%. Who is the problem here? The transgender person or their family, their community, their government? Too many times a transgender person has to move to a new city or even country to become who they've always been. I can't even think how lonely that can be for some. May we all of us, continue to exercise our power in humility to pass judgment on people and on systems that bring harm, systems that demand any of us to be who we have never been. In the words of Assata Shakur, it is our duty to fight for our freedom. It is our duty to win. We must love each other and support each other. We have nothing to lose but our chains. Let's pray. God of my mother and father, I come to you and I come to dear friends because we have broken hearts. We need your strength. We have not realized how you have hidden your divine strength in our human family. Wherever we are lost, Spirit, help us find our way. Where we are discouraged, Spirit, revive us. Where we have quit, Spirit, resurrect us. Help us. Help us to see that the victories and promotions experienced by the ones we love are a source of new vitality for ourselves. And may we each realize that we are not alone. We are the global majority, and we are all witnesses.
Amen.
Family, Sage Penelope used to be the drummer in our church, now in London.
And guitar player and occasional singer too.
Yeah, that's right. Catch us up with you.
Yeah. So I left Santa Barbara September 2023. I had gotten married, and to a Mexican national who's doing school here. And among other things, I mean, I knew that one of the reasons why I was ready to leave Santa Barbara. I was there for 10 years, and I knew I wanted to move to a bigger city because I wanted to find more trans people. Because I at the time I left, I identified as non-binary. I really didn't have almost any trans women in my life. I knew I had one trans feminine friend, um, whose parents go to the Way Collective. So in good circles, in good community. But yeah, there was part of me that it's hard to imagine what you don't see modeled, you know? And I knew that moving to a larger city like London, I was also thinking maybe like LA or New York City or Seattle or something. I wanted to put myself in proximity with larger communities of trans people because I felt pretty confident that I would know pretty quickly if these are my people, you know, and like I knew that I would be accepted either way. But kind of as I expected, when I moved here, I got involved with some other like communities of trans women and just found so much commonality. Um, and I learned some kind of like just like basic logistical things. Like I just really didn't know much about what even was possible as far as transition and accessibility or yeah, things like that. So yeah, that was that. Luckily, like I trusted my gut and moved here, and I really feel like I found a beautiful community of people, and I know that it's a community that you know exists globally, mostly in large cities. Um, but yeah, I didn't always go by Sage, as some of you might remember. So I changed my name, um, and am probably due to start on estrogen, HRT, within the next couple of months. Um, but it is a hard decision because I may have to move back to the US due to visa things. And it's kind of scary to imagine moving back to the US while starting hormones because it feels like, you know, doing what feels right for me also kind of puts a target on my back. But so does supporting all kinds of people that I care for, you know. Um, I actually, since I just said put a target on my back, I'm going to show you a jacket that I just um, painted the other day because it quite literally um, does just that to the current political establishment. Um, there it is. Yeah, I just painted this and wore it to Trans Pride. So yeah, so it puts a target on my back, but it's a welcome. I mean, the thing is, it's
So
also
what
something
you're
that
showing us is a palatrans or
yeah, who knows how to
transitinian.
call it. But yeah, I just thought like these things go together in my mind because it's very ingrained like from being in church with you all and in kind of many other communities that all our liberation is bound up together. Um, and right now, since there's so much pushback from the powers that be against supporting Palestinian people, it's all the more important to push back. So yeah, that's an update on me. And I just started a GoFundMe, like a fundraiser for transition costs because it's not cheap and it's not really covered by um, insurance.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's been a lovely step, and I think I've known how much support there is around me. Sometimes it's hard to ask for help, um, but yeah, it's been very heartwarming. Yeah, to have so much support and love from so many people, including my family. I mean, that would be my last kind of point is that um, with my own family. Uh, the person who I most want to accompany me on my journey, or someone I want so dearly, is my mom. Um, because I feel like so much of who I am is modeled after her, and the love that she showed me growing up. Um, and it's difficult and complex because it's not like she 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 doesn't know much about transness, and I wouldn't expect her to. Um, but it's been a journey. When I came out to her and to the rest of my family, um, she wasn't immediately judgmental, but it's kind of like I don't agree with your choice, but I'll always love you kind of thing. Um, which not the worst. It could have gone a lot worse than that. But it's also not active support, and I want active support from my family. And luckily, I feel very grateful to have so much chosen family to kind of step in where I feel that lack. And also, my mom she's coming along. She's coming along. Um, so, yeah, I'm still not sensing an active sense of curiosity from her, but I think that she's realizing that this is not a phase, because I think that in multiple seasons of my life, she's kind of just thought, oh, this thing is a phase and she'll get over it. And I haven't. And then she has to kind of accept it. And then, you know, it's up to her how close we'll stay, um, dependent upon her own curiosity and willingness to not just accept, but embrace who I am. So
Did you have any thoughts about Sade's song?
I hadn't heard it, but I had heard of it. Um, but yeah, I mean, it's of course I would wish for something so beautiful and intentional and creative like that. I mean, it is the kind of it's the kind of thing where it's like when you see that other people receiving that kind of care and attention and love from their parents, you can kind of like hold on to a bit of that for yourself as well, because even if I'm not directly getting that from my biological mom, it still feels like such an important um, gift to our community, you know, especially to have someone who's so prominent, um, yeah, openly talk about this, address this, and model what it looks like to deeply affirm and appreciate their child's transition. So,
If he doesn't mind, on the other side of this equation, we have an example, probably more than one, but Kalon, maybe you could help us process what's happening here.
Ah, it's good to see you again, Sage.
good to see you too.
And thanks for your words. Yeah, it's it's a road, right? It takes a while to figure it out, and I can't say I've fully figured it out by any means. But yeah, it's really good to have just the sense of. I love that whole bit about the liberation, how we're all tied up in liberation together. And I think that perspective adds an awful lot to the whole picture for me, you know, and I'm just grateful to still be walking in the road.
Yeah.
I don't have much else to add.
Do you also have a trans child? It sounds like.
Yes. Yes.
Okay, I didn't
Yeah.
realize that.
Sorry. Well, that came about they came out to us in 2020. So
Okay.
yeah, so it's been a few years, but yeah.
Hmm. Yeah, I mean, I think that, unfortunately, there's a lot of right-wing media intent tries to polarize, and of course, like when I came out, my mom was like, she had a lot to say about people who ditch their families and like go no contact and all that stuff, which I support. If that's if that's what someone needs to do, then I would trust their instinct. But I don't think that's the vast majority of us. Um, and honestly, the willingness to learn and the active intent to be curious and to understand more is usually just is all we ask for. So yeah, because we know it's confusing. I mean, it's not. I sure wasn't aware of transness until probably 8 years ago.
Mhm.
Like, I grew up very much in the white evangelical Christian bubble, so uh, zero zero sense or like literacy about transness. Um, so yeah, there was a lot to learn on my end, and it was only after years of exposure that I came to understand a bit more, and then finally realized that it applied to me. Um, so
Mhm. Oh.
yeah, it
S-
it takes time,
s-
but
So, Kalon, what would you say if you could talk to Sage like a daughter?
Well, I mean, it feels like it sounds like you're already getting some of this, but the bit about you are loved, I mean, the reality is, as a parent, um, there is nothing more than, I mean, you want love, your children are just who you love, and that's always the case, right? So just helping, sticking with us as parents, as we also, as you say, I also grew up on that white evangelical bubble, right? So transness is a very unexpected thing for me, right?
hmm
Although it's odd because we left our very evangelical church in part because of a child who was trans in that context, and recognizing that, hey, this doesn't feel like love, that's being
mm.
expressed to this
And this
family.
is long before you were aware of your own child, right?
Oh, long before, yeah, long before.
Mm.
So,
Mm.
I guess that shows you that God prepares us for roads that we we may be on without knowing, but
Yeah.
yeah. Um, I think the other thing that I see in the trans community is just kind of the loving openness to the reality of of that we're all wonderful creations, right? And it's really cool to see that and be able to see that in my own child's life, to see that and recognize that the world is bigger than the box that you know the boxes we tend to conjure up for ourselves in communities. And um so yeah, I don't know what else to say other than it's great to see you, and we love you. So
That's
know that you're
perfect.
part of a big community that thank you for loving us, and goes both ways.
And so Sage and then Linnea's going to weigh in, but Sage, could you maybe talk to Kaylon as a parent?
Well, I mean, I suppose I had said touched on it a bit before, but yeah, I mean, realistically, a lot of us don't really have parents, you know? I mean, the parents that we need, and it feels like such a gift to have people who play that role. Um, and um, yeah, we do our best to 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 be patient and understanding, and um, I ultimately, like you're mentioning, it is love that ties us together, and it's not, as I said before, it's not always out of the question that sometimes the bonds do have to break, and maybe they're reforged later in life. But yeah, it's so many people. I mean, it's known within many struggles in life that a lot of people do things out of a sense of wanting to be, you know, wanting to make their parents proud or to feel accepted by their parents, even after their parents have died. Like people, well, we're oftentimes very motivated by this idea of what would make our parents accept us and love us. Um, and to have people now, whether they be our biological parents or not, who who yeah, just freely offer that love and acceptance, um, is so healing, and it allows us to be to finally kind of settle that part of us that most deeply strives for that kind of love and appreciation, and allows us to move on to other things, um, to focus on others, to support other people who are struggling, to be creative, all these other good things that we can do in life, so that we can finally move beyond that kind of basic need to be uh, appreciated by our parents. So it really is. It can seem small, but to love, yeah, to love us is such a gift.
Linnea.
Thank you for sharing with us. You're right about love being the primary thing. I think before my husband and I even personally knew a gay or trans person, we ended up being faced with that in a prior church around 2011 or so, and fought it tooth and nail for about 5 years. Just on the basis of love, everyone should be accepted, right? And then my sister, shortly after that, my sister, who raised 5 boys in the white evangelical church, one of them is gay now, and two just came out a couple years ago as trans. And so we're dealing with a lot of people that are coming out, and it's wonderful. It's just happening all over the place. And I think it's really great. Pivotal, I think, in my walk, because thinking about how would it be if I were a parent? I think there'd be, if I was still stuck in that white evangelical bubble and all I had was all those clobber scriptures that they use against gay and trans people. Um, you don't want your child to suffer. So that's the first thought, right? You love your child and you know they're going to be facing a lot of garbage if they continue down that path, and you don't want them to have that kind of suffering. So there's an immediate fear reaction. I think I can just imagine your mom just freezing and just hesitating to say much of anything. She doesn't know if she should encourage you or if she should discourage you.
Yeah.
I think it's kind of a perilous position to be in. The crucial things that help me feel okay with scripture about these issues is just in Genesis. Well, one of the things is in Genesis. You know, God created man in his image. In his image, male and female, he created them. And there's, in the language of Genesis, in several places, there's a plurality, which implies to me that there's a spectrum of gender in God.
Mm.
And he encompasses all of us. He's not just some dude up there, you know, he is everything. And that was comforting for me to know that. Okay, what was the other thing? I'll think of it. If I think of it before it's over, I'm having a senior moment. But that's a good one in Genesis.
So, how this came together today, I kind of lost track of Sage, who visited maybe, I don't know, 5, 6 months ago, was it? Or
Mhm.
longer?
Yeah, in February.
Okay. So, and then, you know, you would know this, but I texted you a few times, but you're not using you're only using your WhatsApp. So you didn't
Yes.
know, you know, that I was
Sorry.
reaching out to you. And so um I I wrote a love message to trans friends on Patreon. And that's where you saw my Patreon. You reached out to me like this past week. I had already scheduled the music for today and what I was going to talk about, and it's like, whoa, Sage shows up, and I thought, wow, this is so timely. Well, I'm not going to say more on that because Julia's hand is up, or yeah, I think it must be Julia.
Hey, did that work? Can you guys hear me?
We hear you.
Yeah, okay. And we're traveling, so I'm worried about losing signal. And I'm also worried about getting emotional because this was great. This was great. I missed Sage, and I kept wondering, where'd you go? You know? And then this is just so wonderful. So I want to give a perspective because my child is also trans. And I love how you said active support. Like, I feel like I need other trans parents to talk to me about that too. You know what I mean? Like, I don't really know. Active support as opposed to just trying to be as supportive as I can.
Hmm.
That made sense to me, you know? And I did not have the white Christian evangelical background thing, right? I always, you know, like there were gays in my family. Like, you are who you are. You know what I mean? So for me, it was like, I felt, is there something in my child that makes them feel like they are not happy with who they are. You know what I mean? Like, is there some kind of self-esteem thing? And is it something that I did not show them enough love? You know what I mean? So I just had trouble with the, like, you know, not being kind of fully happy with who you are. I didn't understand. I didn't understand. And you know what? I didn't understand that what I think doesn't mean a damn thing. You know what I'm saying? My opinion doesn't mean anything. I didn't understand that either. I was so wrapped up in me being the mom. Like, you know, sit down and be humble, you know, like, you know, let go or be dragged. I learned sometimes people have to learn the hard way. I love my child. You know what I mean? I remember my child all those years in one way. And
Yeah.
my child evolved into an adult, you know what I mean? And you know, I just I'm coming along for the ride, really doing the best I can, you know. So like you know, and parents are flawed as well. As a matter of fact, you guys always come out better. The next generation is always better than the last, you know what I mean? So I'm so grateful to be here, and I'm so grateful that you shared, that you were willing to share that, because I was like, that was candid and it was deep, and
We
and
love you.
yeah, we love you, and I so value that perspective, you know. So thank you. Thanks,
Absolutely.
Pastor Paul.
What do you think, Sage?
Yeah, well, two things come to mind. First of all, um, there is an organization called PFLAG, and it's parents and families of lesbians and gays, but they also have a trans group. They do local chapters all over the place, and you can like you can join online meetings. I think like once a month or something. If you like, that would be one way to actively educate yourself, because basically you would be in a circle of other family members and parents of trans people, so who are asking questions. It's a safe space to listen, to ask questions. That's one way you can do that. Also, there's a friend of mine that I have in Santa Barbara, who who I mentioned earlier. I'll if you're curious, she's the mom of my other trans femme friend from Santa Barbara, and she always showed me such love. And honestly, when I was in Santa Barbara, like I felt like she was the mom to me that I really wish I had already had. You might like to chat with her. I'll check with her just to see if she's cool with me, like passing along a phone number or something. She's super sweet. And the second thing that I was going to say is I genuinely think that it's because of the abundance of love and care that I got from my mom that I am how I am. That also coupled with a society that is so kind of rigid oftentimes and controlling about who we are supposed to be. So when we think about like, is there something that I did to like, that didn't allow my kid to develop how they maybe otherwise would have? If you're loving your kid like fully and actively, like that's all you can do. And the reality is we're facing an insane world to grow up in right now, and like I also like from what you said, Linnea, like how you mentioned like your reaction is exactly what my mom kind of felt of like, why would you go down this path when that would potentially bring so much danger? I just want you to be safe. And that's totally understandable. But I think that the encouragement to explore and express as you would with, most any other way that your kid would kind of show an interest and a desire to express themselves and to look into different kind of communities and find home and community other places. Of course, like, yeah, safety is important, but especially if it's an adult child, then it's like I trust you'll be safe with this. How can I support your exploration? And how can I respect you and support you the most is the best, I think, transition out of the fear response.
Mhm. Yeah, and I remembered the second one. A lot of what you said jogged me out of it. The that I was going to mention um, is just getting out of the binary thinking and about gender, especially. You were mentioning how parents tend to blame themselves, and so there's that brings us to that old, very old dilemma or argument about is it nature or is it nurture?
Hmm.
And so one of the pivotal things for me, besides that Genesis scripture, was finding a journal article, just reading the abstract of a journal article when I did a search in Google on gender. I think it was just gender. It might have been gender identity or some such thing. But looking not for somebody's opinion, but looking for what the science says about the myriad kinds of gender developments that can happen in the chromosomes, in the cells, from the very beginning until a child is born. And so many things can happen. And doctors and parents make binary decisions when a child is born, and there's any ambiguity. But there are many factors besides the obvious external ones that affect things like that. So, and they say, that people cannot be persuaded through rational arguments or what have you. But um, I know that there are a lot of people who need that because they're being bombarded with those things from the Christian community, who's using all these Old Testament scriptures, which I believe are superseded by Jesus' message, or completed, I should say, by Jesus' message of love.
Hmm.
And so if you feel, can make yourself feel more comfortable with the scriptures and how you interpret them in a progressive manner, not like liberal manner, but an ongoing revelation. And if you can learn that the science isn't binary on this issue, then I don't know, that makes me a lot more comfortable, I guess.
Yeah, yeah, absolutely. And since some of my mom's hesitances have been, from her perspective, based on her Christian faith. But unfortunately for her, she put me in private Christian school my whole life. So I know the Bible.
Oh, yeah.
Um, and yeah, I mean, I literally, when I was in high school, I thought I would like become like a theologian or a lawyer or something like that. Like I was very into like apologetics and all that. So yeah, I pride myself on being a lot of Christians' worst nightmare because they don't want to talk to me about any number of progressive things. I'm like, bring it on. But I'm like, I'll have mercy on you. If you really want to go and get into it with me, you might lose your faith. So,
Ah,
engage at your own risk here. That said, identifying as a Christian is not an important thing to me anymore, but I think I still at some level do. It's just like it's such a the word feels quite unhelpful in a world where Christian means like opposite to almost everything I believe. So um and yet I'm like, yeah, like a lot of what motivates my values are the stories that I learned growing up, and I'm still inspired by the teachings of Jesus and other Christian leaders throughout the years. Um,
Didn't
but
you go to Westmont?
yeah, I went to Westmont.
oh, yeah, me too.
Oh, you did? Nice. Yeah.
So did Pastor Diane.
What was that?
So did Pastor Diane for a while,
Oh, I didn't know that.
right?
Yeah. Yeah. I went to Westmont, then worked at Westmont, and then got disillusioned with Westmont and other
Yeah,
Christian
absolutely.
communities. But yeah, and again, it was because of the lack of care and concern for vulnerable people. That's
Yes,
why I
absolutely.
left.
Well, um, in case you didn't notice in the chat, Sage has put her GoFundMe link, and
If you can share it around, that would be super helpful.
yeah, and
Yeah,
also
I'm gonna ask.
the PFLAG, Julia. I don't know. You're on your phone, so I don't know how easy it is to access it, but it's easy to Google PFLAG Santa Barbara. I've been to several of their meetings, even when they were in person before 2020, and now it's all, on Zoom.
Do we need to know your last name for the GoFundMe?
What do you mean?
Well,
I can
this
answer
link
that.
just,
You just click the
okay,
link.
okay,
That
Yeah,
link.
yeah, just with the link.
okay,
Yeah. Yeah, I think it just says Sage's transition. Yeah.
okay.
Listen, everybody, thank you for being here. Thank you for the love in this place. If I were Stevie Wonder, I'd write a love song to you all right now, and you'd go off singing it. But Kenichi's going to close our time and lead us in communion.
I do also want to say real quick, if anyone has any like questions for me, like I'm very open to curiosity and questions and whatever. Just ask Pastor David and you can give them my information.
I'll put you together.
Sage, good to see you. It's been a while. It's been a long time, few years. So it's
Good to
good
see
to
you as
see you.
well.
Yeah, good to hear your voice and just a gift to us. Thank you so much for gracing us today and everyone who contributed. And as far as community is concerned, it's an experience. We participate in it. The broken body and the shed blood of Jesus. I think it's participating in this very grace that we are experiencing right now, of love, of acceptance, of care, of grace, of humility, curiosity. And so let's meditate on these things and as we partake of the elements by faith, let's ingest all these things, the love, acceptance, grace, humility. Yeah, and it's a mystery. The human experience is a mystery. It's, it really is. And for the divine to express themselves through humans is a beautiful thing.